Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to be sharing my screen. Just want to go over some housekeeping rules real quickly since we have such a tight agenda and a lot of great information to provide. Please make sure you keep yourself muted throughout the whole webinar. Presentations will be emailed. Let's hold questions after each presenter. You can ask questions in the chat. If you get logged out, please use the same link to log back in. We will have breakout sessions at around 10:30, and I will give you more information at that point. So at this time, I'd like to introduce my boss, Mr. John Martinez.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I know that we've had an army of people work to provide this program for you, along with a lot of notable people that will be hearing a perspective, not only from the very top, but also the people that actually work on making sure things happen. It's my pleasure, first of all, to introduce Senator Robert Nichols. First elected to the Texas Senate in 2007, Senator Nichols represents 19 counties, including the greater part of East Texas and Montgomery County. Beautiful land out there. Senator Nichols serves as the chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee and serves on the Finance, Administration, and Business and Commerce Committees. He is a member of the Legislative Audit Committee and is serving his second term on the Sunset Advisory Committee. These are all super important committees, and we're honored to have him here this morning. This is the part that I really like and appreciate about Senator Nichols. Before running, Senator Nichols served as Transportation Commissioner for 8 years, where he established a reputation for increasing efficiency without compromising quality. So, Senator, we certainly thank you for that. It's a challenge that many of the leaders here on this call face on how to increase efficiency but not compromise quality. Your unique perspective to this is invaluable to us, and we welcome you here this morning. Please welcome Senator Nichols.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone here today to the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association, and it's an annual conference. This year, I saw that you had an emphasis on heavy highway construction, which is kind of up my alley. And I'm truly honored to have the opportunity to be with you. There is a good reason that during this pandemic that your members, whether they are architects, engineers, or contractors, were considered essential businesses because you truly collectively build the backbone of our infrastructure and you put people to work. Your association, and I think this is very important, is a viable entity because it lets you work collectively on your common issues and do it on a regional basis. That way, working together, your voices are much more loud and clear, at least from the legislature's perspective. So as I understand it, many of the members here, both large and small, are women and minority owned. The legislature, working through TxDOT, as well as our other state agencies, have many programs aimed at minority contracting for qualified, historically underutilized businesses and disadvantaged businesses. A good friend of mine, Royce West, who's going to be coming on after I am, we've known each other for over 2 decades. I can assure you, he has been a champion of these programs ever since the first day I met him. Many of you are concerned, as I've heard, about the pandemic and its impact to our highway construction program, the dollars. It has been taking some hits. So I thought I would touch just for a little bit on that and then move on. Fortunately, most of the funding for the state highway program is constitutionally dedicated, as I've always emphasized, because if it's not constitutionally dedicated in times like this, it could very easily disappear. So I thought I would touch on the different categories of revenue because we've got multiple different revenues coming into the highway fund from different areas. First, the federal highway funds, the backbone of that is the federal fuel tax. And while driving is down, which drives the fuel tax collections lower at the federal level, they have had a history of filling in the gap or the shortfall to try to keep federal funding at least at an even level. Now, they can print money. State of Texas cannot. We have to use real money, but their money spends pretty good. So I don't think you're going to get hit there. The second part of it is the state fuel tax. Obviously, the state fuel tax has taken a hit. Driving was less. It really tanked after March, but each month since it's been building back up. And when I'm looking at transportation funding, I'm not thinking in terms of next year's dollars. I'm always thinking in terms of the 10-year project plan. How does it impact the 10-year project plan? And so, yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a hit in year one because of that. But I think by the time we get into the end of next year, the state fuel tax should be back up to normal. The vehicle, a third revenue source is the vehicle registration. The number of vehicles did not change because of the pandemic. Now, the age of them may change because people aren't going to run out buying new cars, but that's a very stable constitutional revenue. The two newest ones, which I've heard a lot of people talk about, Prop 1, Prop 7. Prop 1 is directly tied to the oil and gas business. By driving less, there's less demand for oil. This turned into gasoline and diesel. But worldwide pandemic created an impact of lowering demand for oil and gas. At the same time, the oil and gas industry has overproduced, creating somewhat of a collapse. So Proposition 1 makes picks up a transfer from that. Last November, that transfer to the State Highway Fund was $1.3 billion. We expect that to be half of that this November, about 630 million, and then it will start building back up. Now, as it builds back up, which the dollars are already coming back up, and they are starting to put more rigs out there, the real danger to Prop 1 during the session is substantial balance. Legislature said as long as there is a sufficient balance in a rainy day fund, the transfer occurs. If we choose as the legislature to spend that balance down below that sufficient balance, which could happen, then there would be zero transfer. That's a safety that we put in there. It's something we need to be very mindful of. Prop 7, which was the most recent, was a $2.5 billion per year transfer to the State Highway Fund, plus 35% of vehicle sales tax once it reaches a certain number. So that number is solid. It doesn't change unless revenues really drop. The safety trigger that was put into that constitutional amendment is we needed a vehicle in case of really bad times, but it requires a 2/3 vote of the House and a 2/3 vote of the Senate to take half of those funds away. And so that is the other thing to watch. So transportation funding this session, and it's going to be a very tough session, will be on the defensive, and there will be some hits, but not a full collapse. So my time is up. I will end it the same way I started it, by saying thank you very much for inviting me to be with you today, and welcome to the Regional Hispanic Contractors Annual Conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Nichols. If I may, just a quick question. As our members start talking to their senators and their representatives, what would you recommend a message would be that to help to make sure that we keep our highway infrastructure viable this session?
Well, the highway construction program is absolutely dependent on a long-term, predictable revenue source. Unlike some things where you turn the spigot on and turn the spigot off, You can't turn the spigot off here without having repercussions all the way down the line. It disrupts the supply chain for the contractors. It disrupts a workload chain for the service industry, which are architects, engineers that develop these programs. You try to put a dip in that program and the whole thing backs up. You can't just lay contractors off for a year or two and then expect them to crank back up. They go find and go to different work. So I would just ask them to remind the members the importance of the highway construction program. Most of you are in the urbanized areas, which are desperately in need of congestion relief, maintenance and safety as well. So that would be my suggestion. I'm not asking you to go lobby, but if you do.
Not at all. Not at all. Thank you, Senator, for joining us. And I hope that you have a good Merry Christmas and a very good New Year. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
Take care, Robert.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, I will want to bring up Mr. Lewis Frisbee, who will introduce our next two speakers.
Yes, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me fine. Again, Lewis Frisbee with Metropolitan Infrastructure. I'm currently serving as the co-chair of the RHCA's Architecture, Engineering, and Construction Committee. And we're very pleased to have everybody here this morning. It's my absolute distinct pleasure to introduce to you State Senator Royce West of District 23. Senator West was first elected to the Texas Senate in November of 1992. Since taking office, he has represented the 23rd Senatorial District on behalf of the citizens of Dallas County in the Texas legislature. During his tenure, Senator West has been named by Texas Monthly as one of the 25 most powerful people in Texas politics, been selected for the magazine's biennial 10 Best Legislators in Texas list, and has twice been named as an honorable mention. Senator West has also received mention on the Associated Press Movers and Shakers list, as well as the Texas Insider's Best Legislators list. Senator West is Vice Chair of the Senate Higher Education Committee and is a member of the Senate Committees on Education, Finance, and Transportation. He was appointed to the Senate's Select Committee on Redistricting after the 86th legislative session. And Senator West has been very influential in getting some revisions and improvements to the way professional services are procured throughout the state, and has certainly protected the interests and opportunities for small local and minority businesses in the area. It's absolutely my pleasure to introduce to you Senator Royce West.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to begin by thanking the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association for this opportunity to come before you today and for hosting this forum whose focus is on highlighting the opportunities in the area of heavy construction. I don't think that I would get too much of an argument from anyone on this that is participating in this forum that this year 2020 has been like none other that we've ever seen before, and hopefully it's behind us, and as we move forward, we'll be able to get around the curve on it. And I think that we'd all agree that we would not like to see another year like this one in our lifetimes, given everything that's happening and the healthcare concerns, and some of us have empty seats at the table now. But when you look around in any particular area in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you can't drive too far without seeing dynamic signs of messaging signs, excavation barriers, temporary and permanent, being put in place, concrete mixers, road graders, bulldozers, and a lot of reflective gear and hard hats, and all the other tools that are part of highway construction. That's right. You as well as I know that there's a lot of construction projects that are going on in North Central Texas today. If you're traveling in the Northeast, Work is underway on the expansion of I-635, the high traffic 11-mile section that runs between US 75 and North Central Expressway to I-30. $1.7 billion design bill is going on there. When you begin to look at traffic permitting some 30 minutes northwest of 635, construction began in September on the redesign of the interchange that connects highways, I think 183, 114, Spur 482 and Loop 12, a $300 million project. And I think it was early 2000 when, frankly, planning began on a project that literally right at my doorstep. I was chair of this particular project. It's the reconstruction, widening, and modernization of 35 East, US 67 from near downtown out to I-20, connecting to a segment further south to Cedar Hill that's known as the Southern Gateway. $666 million project. Some miles east of the Southern Gateway is the reconstruction of and redesign of Highway 310, which I renamed the SM Wright Freeway. That particular project, $78 million. Taking a different look though, for fiscal 20, the TxDOT district let the contract bid some $561 million in highway design, bid, build, construct contracts. They anticipate letting for bid $662 million in design, bid contracts in fiscal year 2021. Why am I giving you all of these numbers? I'm giving you these numbers to make sure that you understand that there's opportunities. Were we successful in some of the other projects in terms of DBE and hub goals? Yes. When you take a look at it, the DBE goal for the SM Wright project, as an example, was 13.3%, some $14 million. We surpassed that by 18.5% minority participation, some $20 million. And we did that by working together. The fact is that we were able to prevail upon TxDOT to work with us to not only have a hub goal, but a DBE goal. And you know that the current administration turned around and gave guidance to TxDOT that they can no longer use the hub goal. And so we now have an administration that should be able to look at that and hopefully get that reversed so we can increase the goal for hub and DBE participation. The Southern Gateway project has a minority participation goal of, I think, about 12%. And we met that particular goal. And we're going to continue to be able to meet those goals. But what I want to say to you in closing, because I know you have other persons that you want to hear from, it is real important that as we go into this next legislative session, and we're having this conversation now, that we talk to the hub coordinators to make certain that they have direct access to the executive director that's being held accountable by the TxDOT commissions. And we're having that conversation right now in terms of making certain that we have hub and minority participation at the levels that we should. When you begin to look at the changing demographics of Texas, the workforce, we've got to make certain that's also reflected in the contracts that we're procuring. The fact is that we have more and more Hispanic firms that are being very involved. You take the Gary and Fields, they've been involved. You take the Renaissance contractors, and I get the Rios group. I can go on and on in terms of some of the Hispanic contractors that's been involved. What I will say to you is this. The regional Hispanic contractors is a very, very critical group. John, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership team and being involved not only in making certain that we get contracts through TxDOT, but also in other spheres also. It's real important that your policy group work very closely with my liaison now, Anufo Garza, as it relates to making certain that issues concerning hubs, disadvantaged business, DBEs, continue to be on the forefront when we're looking at contracting opportunities. So often when we have these types of emergency environments, COVID-19 environments, we get cut out. We've got to make certain that, quote unquote, with these emergency contracts, that we still get the opportunity to participate. And I agree with my colleague, Senator Robert. I agree with him in terms of making certain that we have the monies necessary in order to do the construction in not only just for today, but also in the future. But we've got to make certain that we're sitting at the table, getting the opportunities to participate in that construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator West.
All right, very good. Senator West, thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your busy time to join us this morning. Next up, we have Texas House of Representatives, Representative Nicole Collier. Representative Nicole Collier is a respected attorney, small business owner, grandmother, and mother of three who has spent her life working to obtain an American dream. Nicole raised in a family of vision and dedicated to service. Nicole is a graduate of the University of Houston, married to Gary Collier. They live in Fort Worth, and for the last 18 years, Representative Collier has been a strong advocate for individuals, families, and now taken her skills to the state capitol. There, she's an advocate for small and minority and local businesses, and she's organized events in the transportation and infrastructure area in outreach programs such as for the Southeast Connector Project. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Representative Nicole Collier.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and welcome everyone to the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association Forum. And I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It sounds like we've got a great layout. You heard from Senator Nichols that talked about the funding and the current state of transportation. It's not going anywhere. We have way too many people driving on our roads, and so your services are needed. You heard from Senator West talking about the opportunities that are out there. And I want to thank you because you guys never stopped working. During this pandemic, you guys have been on the front lines making sure that our roads remain safe. And so I want to say thank you. Thank you for being out there and continuing the work that is necessary to keep Texas moving forward. I also want to tell you a little bit. I'm the newest legislator compared to what the wealth of information that Senator Nichols and Senator West possess. So I came in and my first session was in 2013. And when I was contacted, I was told about limited opportunities for contracting for our Black and Brown contractors. And so when I heard about that, I said, well, let's see the numbers. And the numbers don't lie. The numbers show that there are lower numbers and opportunities have been availed to our Black and Brown contractors. But that has been changing. Over the years, since I've been in the legislature, I've seen the numbers increase. In fact, Senator West laid the groundwork out with the hub goals and setting out the framework for us to build upon going forward. And so there have been members who have been in the trenches, making sure that there are opportunities for you. But one of them was Senator West. We've had Representative Yvonne Davis, former Representative Helen Giddens in Dallas area. There have been members who have been in the trenches, making sure that there are opportunities. And you hear about these goals. That was something that I wasn't aware of about goals. What does a goal mean? And I remember when I first started talking to TxDOT about these goals, they would say, well, we don't have capacity. There's not a capacity of people in the pipeline to do that. And that there are not enough contractors, and basically meaning Hispanic and Black contractors available to meet any higher goals. Well, as I started doing digging and talking to you guys, I found out, well, it's not the capacity, it's the actual variables that are in contracting, because you may be available, we may have the numbers, but you may not be available at the time that the contract needs to be let out. And so I started learning more. And so I started asking questions. And I started asking you guys questions. I asked some of you, what does this mean? And so the way things can change is if you help us as those decision makers. Talk to us. This session alone, there've been 150 bills filed so far out of 800 that deal with contracting. So we are making decisions that impact your everyday life. And unless we hear from you, we're going to think that things are going great, because let me tell you, my expertise is I do contracts, but I don't know about heavy highway construction. So if I write a law that impacts your life, you need to let us know how it really works on the ground. So it's so vital that you stay in contact with your representative, your senator. Make sure that they know your position. They're aware of how the decisions they make impact you every day. So it's so important. And then also, if you see something that's not, acting right or performing the way intended, you got to let us know. We are spending taxpayer dollars through TxDOT. And so we got to make sure that we spend these dollars wisely. Senator Nichols said something about urban development very much needed. And I could not agree more. There are highways in my community, in Senator West's community, in San Antonio, that definitely need to be improved. And we're so grateful that TxDOT has seen the need for that and is investing in those roadways to improve them so that we can have better connectivity. But what we're doing is we're speaking with TxDOT. Anytime that I've been brought to my attention about there is a lack of diversity, if there's a lack of opportunities, I am talking with TxDOT and they are listening and they are taking action. So my mom always told me you can get more with sugar than you can with salt. So that's always been my philosophy with everything that I do. I start with sugar, but I throw a little salt in there every now and then if it's necessary. So I'm not, afraid to do that. So I encourage you to talk with your representative. Let us know what is going on. I don't know everything about heavy highway construction, but I'm willing to learn from you so that way I can be your voice and try to move that needle forward. In the Southeast Connector project, which is a project that's covering a lot of my district, it's $1 billion project. I want to see the numbers high. I made it very clear to TxDOT that I was expecting higher DBE goals. And because of the groundwork that has been laid by legislators before me, they listened. And so the numbers for the Southeast Connector, the DBE goal is higher. It's about 14.6% for professional services. For construction, and then 20%, I believe, for professional service. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong later on. But I want to tell you that these numbers are higher. So I need you guys to come through. I need everybody to come through and be ready. They're narrowing it down right now to those bottom three, those three contractors that made it to the final call. And so they're working on these numbers now. I'm working as well to make sure that those who are capable and willing to participate have those opportunities and are connecting with those final three. So my goal has always been to try to bring those connections together. And so I want to make sure that, if you are interested in the Southeast Connector project, find out who those three contractors, those joint ventures are, and work with them. And then also, I want to make sure that you guys understand, you guys can joint venture too. You can joint venture and work together to get ahead and to, bid for deals as well. Always make sure that you're involved with your association to find out what the latest thing is and participate. Please make sure that you're participating in things like this. This forum is so important. But if there's something that you need to know about, if there's something going on with TxDOT, let us know, because we have to be held accountable. We are accountable to you as a voter, and we're accountable and TxDOT's accountable to us. So we got to make sure that we're all working together. But my experience with TxDOT has been very favorable. I've been very pleased with what I have interacted with them. My Fort Worth district, they're doing a fabulous job with what they have, because of course state entities don't have a lot. But I'm very proud of them and the work that they're doing and their commitment to diversity. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, John. And thank you guys again. My phone number at the office is 817-332-1180. If you see something, say something. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Collier.
Thank you. And up next, I want to bring up Mr. Adam Henderson, who will introduce our next speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Julio. It is a distinct honor to introduce a fellow Texas A&M Aggie. This gentleman has had a very significant impact in both the private and the public sectors of our transportation community over the years, and currently serves as Executive Director and CEO of NTTA. And we're very happy to have him here this morning, and let's welcome James Hoffman.
Thank you, Adam. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. I want to touch on, in the few minutes that we have this morning, three different areas. First of all, why NTTA exists. Secondly, to thank the association and its members for helping us work towards achieving our purpose. And third, how can you get engaged with NTTA? Next slide, please. So I'd like to start off real quickly with looking at our mission. This drives everything we do day in, day out for the organization. First and foremost, you can see every day on our roadways by the cleanliness of them, by the maintenance that's put into them, and by our roadside safety services that we take our mission of providing a safe and reliable toll road system to heart. But behind the scenes, know that there are thousands of cameras that are constantly analyzing our roadway, looking for anomalies, looking for people that are pulled over so that they can alert proactively our Safety Operations Center. And secondly, we're always looking for ways to increase the value of having a toll tag. You can use it to park at the airport, you can use it to pay your tolls across the state, but also in Oklahoma and Kansas. And over the next few years, it's our intent to expand those options for our toll tag customers. And like you, we take pride in that we manage our finances, we manage our operations like a private business would. We've borrowed a tremendous amount of money, and you'll see that in a minute, to build our roads required or requested by the region. And so we have to protect the bondholders that have invested in us. And last, we're just one piece of the puzzle to meet the growing infrastructure needs of the region. Next slide, please. So let's peel back the onion just a little bit more. Why do we exist? First and foremost, we all can agree that a strong transportation network is essential to support progressive communities. And as Senator Nichols mentioned earlier, there's not nearly enough money to go around to meet the transportation needs of the state, much less North Texas. And with that, we're just one tool in the transportation toolbox that's there. If there aren't tax dollars to build a road, and that road is urgently needed. So we build what the region asks us to build. We maintain and operate it through its life to improve mobility, to relieve congestion, especially off of the tax-paid roads, but also create access that links communities together, provides access from communities to large transportation hubs like the airports, to entertainment, retail, and employment hubs as well. So how do we do it? If we can't pay for it ourselves out of cash, we borrow the money from the bond market. And we currently owe bondholders $9.3 billion in debt. And that's a staggering number, but to put it in a little bit better perspective, we're going to pay this year over $500 million in principal and interest to bondholders. And in the near future, that'll grow to almost $700 million. But one area that I take comfort in is knowing that tax dollars are not used to maintain, operate, nor pay back that debt. It's solely by the toll revenues that we collect. So to put this in perspective, if you'll click one more time, Julio. If NTTA did not exist in the last 13 to 14 years, every single gallon of gasoline in the state of Texas, whether it's bought here, El Paso, Houston, Tyler, it doesn't matter, 6 cents per gallon would have to be added to pay for what we've built, what we're maintaining, and what we're operating here in North Texas. Next slide, please. So let's demystify NTTA a bit, what we are and what we aren't. First of all, we're a public nonprofit transportation provider. Every dollar we make gets reinvested in this region. It does not leave North Texas. It does not leave the DFW area. Secondly, we're one piece of the puzzle. We build what is asked of us by the region to build. So we work closely with RTC, with TxDOT, with COG, with our cities and counties to bring transportation to the region. We are obsessed with customer service, whether that's on our roadways or whether that's at one of our walk-up locations or when you call our call center. And that obsession drove us to request and ultimately get passed legislation that says we're the single regional customer service center in North Texas. So whether you're using one of our roads, one of TxDOT's Tex Express lanes, or one of Centra's Tex Express lanes, you will receive one bill from us. You'll have one location to call to take care of all your business. So what are we not? We're not a private company and we're not a foreign company. We answer to the county commissioners of Dallas, Tarrant, Denton, and Collin County. You will not see any state appropriation for NTTA. So we're not in the state budget. We don't own or operate the Tex Express managed lanes, but as I mentioned before, they do send us their transactions and we do collect them on their behalf to alleviate any confusion for customers. And finally, we'd be more than happy with what we have, and we don't advocate for any more toll roads to be built. We are here if a project is urgently needed and there aren't the tax dollars to pay for it. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to take a minute to thank the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association and its members for helping NTTA work towards meeting its mission. One of our strategic goals is to be a respected leader and partner, and it's through our relationship with industry and advocacy groups that we work to fill this directive. Specifically, our relationship with the association has been an overwhelming success. We actively engage in a number of events, including the Day of the Construction Worker, forums like this, and the award ceremonies. And last year, I'm proud to say that we were honored by the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association to be the Public Entity of the Year. But successful relationships need to benefit both parties. And NTTA has been a beneficiary of the great resources from the association, with no one other than John Martinez that leads our Business Diversity Advisory Council. That group is important in helping guide NTTA's efforts to encourage the participation of disadvantaged, minority-owned, and women-owned businesses. Next slide, please. So the global pandemic has negatively impacted all of us, and for NTTA, it's impacted our revenues. In April of this year, transactions were 57% below normal. They've leveled out the last few months to about 18 to 20% below normal. But we remain committed to bringing and advancing critical construction projects for the region, and you can see 4 of those here. So along the entire 26 miles of the Sam Rayburn, we're adding 1 lane in each direction. We continue our 4th lane addition on the President George Bush Turnpike by adding that 4th lane in our last 2 sections, which spans from I-35 East to I-20. In a much needed congestion mitigation and improvement project, we're expanding the Dallas North Tollway with the bridge over 380. And we just started the construction of a 2-lane frontage road from FM 428 up to the Grayson County line. So here in the next few years, you'll be able to either take the Dallas Parkway and the Dallas North Tollway from Grayson County all the way down to downtown Dallas. And last is a sign of our commitment to safety. We're replacing the median traffic barrier on the Dallas North Tollway from George Bush south to 635. These 4 projects represent an investment of over $400 million back into our region, and it's created thousands of jobs for our residents. Next slide, please. So finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about how to get engaged with NTTA. Those 4 projects, as well as others that we're providing now, and those in the pipeline, are possible because of our great vendor community that we have here in North Texas. We need you to help us deliver the transportation options that our region is asking of us. We spend up to 300 in an average year, up to 300 million annually, and we want to do business with you. If you haven't already, we encourage you to register at nttamarketplace.org. There you'll be able to review and submit responses to NTTA opportunities, but you'll also be able to sign up for notifications for procurement opportunities that meet the specialties of your firm. We're also very proud of our work in business diversity. Over the past several years, over 30% of our spending has been with diverse firms. Again, over the last few years, 30 cents out of every dollar NTTA has spent has been with a diverse firm, and we're very proud of that. We have a number of outreach events which provide opportunities to meet and interact with NTTA staff, learn about upcoming procurements, and network with other firms. We also have robust capacity building programs internally here with our ROAD program, which is relationship and opportunities advancing diversity, as well as with our cooperative inclusion program with TxDOT. Again, we're pleased to be here. We, like many of you, are critical to delivering successful heavy highway construction projects in the region, and we look forward to the continued partnership on the delivery, operation, and maintenance of those projects. One last click, please. So thank you again for the opportunity to be with you today. I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, and a safe and happy New Year. And thank you again for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, James. We appreciate your time this morning. We appreciate the whole entire NTTA team. I think it's truly one of the organizations where diversity, inclusion, and just overwhelming good customer service is truly an entire organization works behind your mission. So I appreciate your time. I know Mark Boma's on here as well. And as always, Moses, please have a great holiday, Merry Christmas, and a very good New Year. Like you, I'm sure I'm looking forward to a great 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you. So up next, I have our secretary, Ms. Angela Berry Roberson, who will give some comments and will introduce our next series of speakers.
Yes. Good morning. My name is, of course, is Angela Berry Roberson. I am the RHCA board secretary and a co-chair for this event. So we are pleasantly pleased that you guys are a part of that. The EAC committee, as was noted before, has a construction side. So that's my side, working for Ferrovial and for Weber Construction. But today we're going to talk, we are blessed to have and honored to have key leadership on the TxDOT side. We have Mr. Mark Williams, who serves as the Deputy Executive Director for the Texas Department of Transportation. In his role, he assists the Department Executive Director and management team with oversight of all TxDOT functions, including management and operation of the state's transportation system. He's charged with ensuring Texas's transportation system is planned, constructed, and maintained in a cost-effective manner in order to effectively address the state's growing safety, mobility, and reliability needs. So without any further ado, Mr. Williams, thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you very much. I appreciate that introduction and want to thank John and the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association really for the opportunity to join you all today. And we'll just jump right in and on just kind of an update here for TxDOT and go to the next slide here. So as I start off with, and as I'm thanking everybody, including RHCA and your members and employees who, along with our TxDOT team members, have been on the front line as critical infrastructure workers throughout this pandemic. You all have kept our project delivery efforts running at a stronger pace than we have ever had. In fact, over the last 6 months, TxDOT's contractor payments were almost 15% higher than they were for the same 6 months back in 2019, which is remarkable. And in fact, in August alone, we had over $850 million in contractor payments. That is the highest month that we have ever had. And the second highest month happened to be in September, where we had just under that amount. So we are continuing to execute. You all, partners with us in the contracting community, are a big part of that, and thank you all very much for your commitment. So let's jump into the next couple of slides here. I'll talk a little bit about some of our priorities and initiatives. Clearly, TxDOT's top focus is always safety, and the commission stepped up about a year and a half ago with an additional $600 million in safety funding approved by the commission, and to date, 163 million of that has been let, with the remaining funding scheduled as part of the lettings through the end of this fiscal year. So it was a quick turnaround. It was directed to go toward new projects to be included in lettings as quickly as possible. And so developing those projects and getting them ready and being able to execute on all $600 million of that in really under 2 years is a remarkable achievement. But it's all going toward the goal of ending the streak, and ending the streak of fatalities on our Texas roads has been a charge of ours. Sadly, we surpassed a 20-year milestone, 20 years of having a fatality on our roads every single day, which is just a sad and a difficult challenge for us. But we're up to the challenge, and we're committed to driving down fatalities on our roadways and ending the streak and achieving a vision zero by year 2050, which is the charge from our commission. Go to the next slide, please. Another important initiative is the Texas Clear Lanes program. And I know that many of you all in the North Texas area have heard about that. We've had a tremendous amount of investment going on to help relieve congestion throughout the state, but both Fort Worth and Dallas, our Fort Worth and Dallas districts, are 2 of the 5 districts that are part of the Clear Lanes initiative, which is focusing on putting additional funding, $500 million every year, $5 billion total program within our Unified Transportation Program to help supplement funding that already goes toward many of these major projects that are geared at relieving congestion and improving mobility. Next slide, please. Another important emphasis area continues to be our energy sector. The energy sector dipped a little bit this year during the pandemic, but the activity levels and the challenges that our motorists and operators in the energy sector face day in and day out, particularly from a safety standpoint, are critical. And this is an important sector for the Texas economy. And through Proposition 1, which relies upon oil and gas severance taxes to help transfer those into the road fund, we received a transfer of $1 billion this year. Maintaining the productivity and the competitiveness of our energy sector is really an important partnership for the state of Texas. And us continuing to make these investments in that region of the state is a top priority as well for our commission. Next slide, please. So we'll talk a little bit here about contracting activities within the state of Texas. Our contract lettings continue to progress. As we talked about earlier, we're maintaining the momentum that we have in the state, and our current schedule of contract lettings really strives to kind of maintain a balanced portfolio of lettings every month. We really shoot for a range of around between $400 and $600 million a month. At times, we've seen some dips in the last couple of months. Have been a dip in the number of projects that are included in our statewide lettings, but we're expecting those to pick up over the coming months, and we expect through the end of this fiscal year there to be a pretty robust statewide letting program throughout Texas. And we'll get into a few more details as we get into the next slide here. So this shows our cumulative program throughout the year. We're looking at a little over $5.5 billion of traditionally let construction projects that we're going to be awarded this year. And we continue to track pretty close to what our expected total was. And that is a line that our commission looks at this chart every month along with the previous chart, and works with our engineering operations division to make sure that we are maintaining our letting commitments. And it's very important for the department to be doing that so that the industry can know that they can count on the schedule and the program that we've committed to. Next slide, please. But in addition to just the traditional design bid build projects, you all are very aware of the design build projects that we're involved with. And on top of the numbers that I previously showed, over the next 2 fiscal years, we expect to have about $4.2 billion in design build contract awards that will be moving out, 2 of those being in the North Texas region. The first 2 this year would be the I-35 NEX Central project in San Antonio, $1.6 billion scheduled for a late award in FY21. And as has been mentioned previously in this discussion, the I-35E Dallas projects, $600 million scheduled for a late fiscal year 21 award as well. So both of those design build projects are scheduled for award this year. And then next year, we'll be turning our attention to awarding the Southeast Connector project, $1.6 billion over in Fort Worth, and the I-69 State Highway 288 interchange project down in the Houston area. So again, a very good and robust design build program that we have scheduled over the next 2 years. But when we look at our design build program, we have to look at that within context of our design bid build project program as well, and making sure that we maintain a healthy program in both areas so that our contracting community has access to those activities. Next slide, please. So when you take that and add to the statewide lettings that I mentioned earlier, which was about $5.67 billion a year, and then jumping down a bullet to the or 2 bullets to the design build program for this fiscal year, which is around a little over $2 billion. And then you combine the local lettings that are administered using some of the state funds that the commission administers, and other contract obligations such as work that we do for public transit activities and air quality programs. To date, we're looking at a construction procurement program all in of about $9.5 billion for FY 2021, which is a significant and a very important program for us moving forward, and one that we're proud to continue to maintain this level of activity. Next slide. So as I conclude, one of the important areas for us continues, as you know, to be our disadvantaged business and historically underutilized business programs, DBE representing the federal side of it, HUB representing the state side of it. It's been a record year in those areas for TxDOT. Our federal disadvantaged business program in 2020 resulted in an 18.1% of federal awards that went to DBEs that exceeded our goal of 14.4% last year, and $1.1 billion of new federal awards to DBEs. And in fact, in terms of actual contractor payments made to DBEs, we had over $1.7 billion of federal payments that went to DBEs. That's the largest ever by any state DOT. And so that's an area that we're very, very proud to have achieved that. And then over in our HUB program, we have had similar results. The HUB program is sometimes overlaps with the DBE program, as you all may know, but $970 million in new HUB awards, and TxDOT represents 1/3 of the total HUB awards administered by the state of Texas. So as I conclude here, I wanted to again continue to emphasize that we're working to make sure that our contracting opportunities with TxDOT are accessible and available to businesses who are ready, willing, and able to participate with us. We certainly appreciate the work and the role that the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association plays in that area. And I will conclude with how I started. Thank you, along with our TxDOT team members, many of whom you work with there in North Texas and we'll be hearing from after me, who got a lot more better and important details to share with you all. But just want to thank you again for your hard work and commitment to connecting people with Texas through what I consider to be the most effective and capable transportation system in our nation. So thank you all very much again for this opportunity to speak with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate your time this morning. I look forward to working with you in 2021 on our working group. Please have a great Christmas and a happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for your comments. We really do appreciate it. We just heard the overall overview and forecast for TxDOT as an agency as a whole. And so now we have two speakers from our local districts, from the Fort Worth district, as well as the Dallas district. First, we're going to start with Teresa Poor. Teresa Poor is the Director of Transportation Operations for the Fort Worth district. She has been working for TxDOT since 1998 and began with the department almost 22 years ago. She has been the Director of Operations in the Fort Worth district for the past 8 years, where she oversees traffic signals, signs, speed zoning, safety, system safety programs, and the intelligent transportation systems for 9 counties of the district. So without any further ado, Ms. Poor, thank you so much for attending.
Thank you so much, Angela. I really appreciate that introduction. And I'm very honored to be here this morning to represent the Fort Worth district. And I would just like to thank the RHCA for having this forum and for having me attend. I'd also like to thank Representative Collier for her kind words to the Fort Worth district. We certainly appreciate and enjoy working with you and your staff as well. So thank you for that. I do want to mention that in the Fort Worth district, we do have a new district engineer who recently joined us a couple of months ago, Mr. Carl Johnson. He was the former DE in Abilene. And so he had a conflict this morning, couldn't be here, but he's going to be a great leader for our district. And hopefully all of y'all will have a chance to meet him and work with him in the future. So I just wanted to let y'all know that we do have a new district engineer. So this morning, I just want to give you a brief overview of the Fort Worth district, go over a couple of statistics, and then talk a little bit about some initiatives that we do have going on. I know later on this morning, we're going to go into some more details about upcoming opportunities, both in construction and procurement, but I'm just going to give a general overview. So we can go to my next slide, please. So our Fort Worth district, for those of you that may not know, we do serve 9 counties in the area. That's Erath, Hood, Jack, Johnson, Palo Pinto, Parker, Somerville, Tarrant, and Wise County. Our total square miles that we have are around 6,900 square miles, a little bit over 9,000 miles of state system roadways in the Fort Worth district. We serve approximately 2.6 million people, 2.3 million registered vehicles, and in our district, we do have 6 area offices and 10 maintenance offices. So on our next slide, I want to just give some brief district statistics of some of our numbers that we've had. So this past year, we had an estimated annual construction letting of around $400 million. Currently going on in the district, we have $2.7 billion worth of active contracts going on. That includes $1.4 billion of our traditional design bid build projects. And it also includes our 2 CDA projects that are still ongoing. And that's going to be the 635 and 121 interchange, and then our 35W 3C project that we have. As of now in the district, we have about a 51% rate of our total construction projects at completion. And I also just wanted to mention that our average annual maintenance budget is $164 million in the district. So on my next slide, I want to change gears a little bit and talk about some different initiatives that we have. So I know that that Mr. Williams in his presentation covered the Clear Lanes initiative, and I'm sure that you know, we all know in 2014 and 2015 that the Texas voters did approve the Prop 1 and the Prop 7, which directs different funding streams back into the State Highway Fund. And so the total amount that I know we've heard earlier today, that TxDOT has dedicated $6.8 billion through the Texas Clear Lanes initiative to help address congestion and gridlock in our Texas metro areas. And so the Fort Worth district, how this affected us is that we had projects under the Texas Clear Lanes that totaled at $652 million. And so these projects, they're all at different stages of development, but we do have the 121-360 interchange, State Highway 199, the East Loop 820 project that's coming up, and then of course the 635 and 121 interchange. So just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of how the Texas Clear Lanes and how that funding came to Fort Worth and which projects that we're using that for here in Fort Worth. Another thing I wanted to talk about this morning on my next slide, I want to definitely hit on system safety. So this really is everything that we're about. It's something very near and dear to my heart, you know, working in traffic operations and something that we work towards every day. So in 2019, our statewide fatality rate was 3,299 fatalities on our roadways. In the Fort Worth district, our typical average fatality number is about 260 a year. And so I know a lot this morning, you know, we've heard and we've talked about how the pandemic has affected us in different areas. Well, unfortunately, with our fatality numbers and our accident numbers, what we're seeing statewide is that these numbers are actually a little bit higher than they have been in past years. And I know that kind of goes against the intuition that we may have that, well, there's less people on the roads, less people driving, so there may be less accidents, but we actually saw the opposite. And, you know, what we tend to think about that is that, you know, with fewer people on the roads, it was kind of a wide open space. And so a lot of the fatalities and accidents that we did see involve speeding. So that's why our safety initiatives and our safety programs are so important to us. And on the next slide, I want to cover just real briefly a couple of these. And I know Mr. Williams went into these programs as well, but the anniversary that we had talked about of having our last fatality free day, of course, we just passed that day, November the 7th. And so that's an anniversary that we want to stop celebrating. And so, you know, we're dedicated to ending fatalities, reducing fatalities on our roadway. And so the Road to Zero initiative was something in May of 2019 that the Texas Transportation Commission laid out for us, and you know, wants to reduce fatalities by half by the year 2035. And in the Fort Worth district, that would put our number at 130 based on our 260 average number that we typically have. And then of course, by 2050, our goal is to get to zero fatalities. They have dedicated $600 million for this initiative. I'm actually on that task force, and we've looked at projects statewide that have come in, and we've really tried to focus on those projects and those countermeasures that would directly reduce fatalities on our roadway. And so, you know, we look at things like roadway and lane departures, intersection safety, technology, innovation, pedestrian safety. So that's one of the big things that we're working on and that we're pushing for, and really just to encompass that system safety in all of our projects. So with that, I just wanted to close, and again, thank everybody for joining us this morning. Like I said, we're going to go into some more details a little bit later about specific opportunities in the Fort Worth district. But thanks again for the opportunity, and I hope everybody has happy holidays. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I appreciate it. And thanks again for your dedication and the Fort Worth district dedication to working with small and minority businesses and with the RHCA. It is much appreciated. Thank you again. And now we're going to go on the other side of the county line Over to the Dallas County side, we've got Brennan Honey, who is the Dallas District Director of Construction. Brennan has began his career at the Collin County Area Office of TxDOT in 2002, where he worked on design, construction, and maintenance projects, including as project engineer of the SH 121 project through Collin County. From 2006 to 2007, he worked as a consultant for NTTA and then returned back to the Dallas District Construction Office in 2010. In 2012, he was named Collin County Assistant Area Engineer and then Collin County Area Engineer in 2016. And finally, in 2019, he became the Dallas County Area Engineer, and in April of this year, the Director of Construction. So we are happy to have you here today. Brennan, thank you so much for honoring us with your presence, and you're on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angela. I want to thank the RHCA for having the Dallas District. We always enjoy the opportunity to come and give an update about some of our projects. If you could go to the next slide, I'm going to hit on just a quick overview of the district, navigating through the pandemic, some 2020 project highlights, and an update on the Dallas District construction with a brief snapshot. And like Fort Worth, we're going to go ahead and we'll get into a few more details in the breakout session on those. So next slide. North Texas, the 16 county NC North Central Texas Council of Government region encompasses 16 counties, 12,800 square miles, and 7.7 million people. The Dallas District comprises of 7 counties: Denton, Collin, Dallas, Rockwall, Kaufman, Ellis, and Navarro. It is 5,444 square miles, and we have about 5 million people. It also has 10,950 lane miles and approximately 75 million daily vehicle miles. And the Dallas District currently has about 900 employees. Next slide, please. Okay, so navigating through the pandemic, on March 13th, TxDOT administration informs the district that office workers and non-essential employees must work from home starting March 16th. I'd like to give our district engineer, Mo Burr, credit. Sometime in February, he started discussing, plans in case the pandemic really did come. At the time, I was actually a little reluctant to even quite believe it because it happened so fast, but they had already implemented some plans and we were doing some alternative work strategies. So we had a lot of the equipment ready for our office personnel to go home. So it was pretty seamless when the order came down on March 13th. And then Sunday night, March 15th, Dallas County issues one of the first stay-at-home orders, which in the state. So that was a lot of kind of confusion going on with it. We poured through the order and, does it apply to TxDOT? We didn't think so because it was a county order and we're part of the state. And of course, we coordinated with the TxDOT administration and Attorney General's office for further clarification, which, subsequently we determined, yeah, we are essential. We're going to keep moving, keep working, making sure the highways are safe. At the same time, we started thinking about additional protocols for construction and maintenance contracts. We had to figure out how to limit the number of employees in the field office, get hand washing stations, working with TxDOT AGC Joint Task Force for additional safety protocols. But the main thing was we kept working. So on March 16th, our construction inspectors and our maintenance workers, they showed up to work. We started doing our daily safety briefs outside. We got separation. And, it was a learning curve. At the time, masks weren't mandatory or anything, but we thought they were coming down. We started trying to procure masks. We were trying to stay ahead of the curve. It was a lot of working parts. At the same time, we worked with our contracting partners to, understand where they were coming from, feeling with what kind of pressures they were getting as far as the health of their workers, procurement of materials, et cetera. We worked with them. If we needed to slow down the job, we did. But overall, we kept working, and I think it's been pretty remarkable. Next slide, please. As far as the office, TxDOT released a playbook for safely returning in-office operations. It's a 3-phase approach for the return. We're currently in phase 1B. 1B is up to 25% occupancy. It's totally voluntary. Our office is probably running a little below the 25%, but all meetings must be virtual as much as feasible. In the field, we will oftentimes meet in the field, but only in person in an actual district office or TxDOT owned property is allowed. We have to have the chief engineer's approval. How long we're going to be in phase 1B, of course, with the pandemic, it's unknown, but it seems to be working pretty well for our district. We've really kept moving. I've been extremely proud of everybody that I've been working with, from the administration down to the guys working every day out there on the maintenance crews. Next slide, please. All right, let's get to something a little more positive. I wanted to talk about some project highlights, and I know that through a lot of these conferences, we've talked a lot about this ABC project, but we're real proud of how this went. As you can see, this was 635 northbound and southbound at Seagoville Road. SEMA Construction was our contractor. We had a strong partnership with them. The area office, the contractor at the time, I was the area engineer still when we were planning this, and then Amanda Moser took over when it was actually constructed. We had dozens, it seems like, of meetings going back and forth, really making sure that we had the retrofit and the survey done on those abutments correct, because we had to retrofit it. So when we took out the old bridge and we put the pieces of the new bridge in, everything worked seamlessly. So SEMA, they rented a yard right directly west of the project site. And if you can go to the next picture, or the next slide, you can see that some of the pictures, they built the pieces offsite, they brought them in on trucks. Each piece, the larger pieces weighed about 250,000 pounds, and they essentially already had the vents and the abutments retrofitted, and then all they had to do was take off the old deck and then start putting in the pieces, and each span had 5 pieces, so each bridge had 15 total pieces. It was the closures took 56 hours. That's what we gave them. It's from 9 p.m. Friday to 5 a.m. Monday morning. Northbound, the first time they went around doing it, they finished 2 hours early, which was great. And then when they went to do southbound, they actually finished it 6 hours early because they had a learning curve. So overall, the contract was $9.2 million. That's not huge, but what it accomplished, replacing 2 bridges on an extremely busy interstate highway. We're really proud of it. And this is our first ABC project. And we're going to look for other opportunities to do more jobs like this to minimize disruption to the traveling public. If you can go to the next slide, there's a few more pictures. You can see the yard with the beams, the steel beams, and then they blocked it up and formed it, and they poured it, and then they brought them in, set each of the panels in place, and you can see they have kind of loop bars that overlap each other from each piece on the right, and then they did HES, high early strength concrete, through those joints to lock all those pieces into place. So that's how that one was done. And then if you go to the next slide. All right, this is the I-20, I-45 redecking. Gibson Associates was the contractor. Is about an $8 million contract. You can see on the left how bad those existing direct connects were. I mean, anybody that knows, a lot of these older steel span direct connects, especially, they have a lot of issues on the surface. So they did ground penetrating radar, and they developed a plan. And the plan was that we would hydro demo the first 2 inches or so, or down to the rebar on the concrete spans, and then on the steel spans, we'd do a full deck replacement. Each DC was set with strong incentives and disincentives. They range from $10,000 a day to $40,000 a day. I do want to point out Gibson met every milestone or was early. And that's from, again, exceptional planning on their part, getting as much done as they need to before they actually close the direct connect. And then when the direct connect closes, they go in and do it. Overall, this job was it won the TxDOT 2020 Journey to Excellence Award Gold. I can't emphasize what a huge improvement it was. If you go to the next slide, we got a few more pictures on this. That's on the left is the hydro demo, and then on the right you can kind of see what the new deck looks like right at the end. They still had to pour the rail on the right, but it's just a 1,000% improvement. So it's quite amazing. Next slide. All right, let's take a quick look at our construction that we got going on. This is kind of a high level view. So we currently have 125 active design bid build contracts under construction with a contract value of about 2.2 billion. And there's approximately 1 billion outstanding or left to go. Currently have 2 design build projects under construction with a total contract value of 2.4 billion with approximately 2 billion outstanding. I also always want to point out we have our contracted maintenance for fiscal year 21 is currently budgeted with approximately 78 million. And that encompasses about 99 active contracts, and those are rolling contracts. So there's always every month opportunities, and that's fiscally constrained, but we're always looking to get extra money. So hopefully by the end of the FY, we're in the $82 million contracted maintenance range. Next slide, please. All right, this was just a brief overview of those other numbers by area office. So Amanda Moser, she's the Dallas area engineer. She's got about 687 million under construction right now. Brandy Bush, our signal construction is at 28.8 million. Brendan Honey, which is me, that's the diamond interchange. We're running it out of the construction office. That's sitting at 326 million. That's with all the force accounts, et cetera. And then David Morin, that's our seal code at 14 million. Jennifer Vorster with Collin County is at 261 million. And John Husbeth, that's the other seal code, that's at 13 million. That's this year's, the other one was from the year before. And then Juan Paredes and Ellis and Navarro is sitting at 521 million. And then Lane Selman's area engineer in Kaufman Rockwall, he's got 187 million right now, and that's about to change dramatically in the upcoming months, and we'll get into that in the breakout session. And then Tina Massey as well in Denton County has 174 million. So like I said, we'll get into some more details on the next session on some of these upcoming jobs and the ongoing jobs, because Dallas is going to stay busy. And so that's all I got for now. If you got any questions, feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brendan. I appreciate, again, TxDOT, both the district and the agency, and your support of the RHTA locally, like I said, as well as statewide. And thank you so much for your participation. And our speakers were amazing, but this event would not be here except for our sponsors. So we want to recognize our sponsors today. As you see from this slide, we have several sponsors. So we're just going to highlight our sponsors today. Our first sponsor, we're going to highlight something very dear to my heart, which is Ferrovial Construction. We have Angel Beltran, who is the CEO of the North Tarrant Express 35 West Project 3C. Angel?
Angela. Hi, everybody. I just very, very happy to be here. As Angela was saying, I'm Angel Beltran. I'm the CEO for NTI, which I think is, you guys know, we are building the I-35 West project in Fort Worth between North Tarrant and Eagle Parkway. I work for Ferrovial Construction. As you know, we are an experienced construction company that is committed to diversity and inclusion. So you will remember us for iconic projects like LBJ or like BBC. So we built around 50 miles of roadway in North Texas with over $5 billion projects in the last years. We've been here for 10 plus years, and we are committed to diversity and inclusion. And we have exceeded by far all of our DBE goals in all of our last projects, which shows how committed we are. And so I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me. Been amazing speakers, and thank you for the Regional Hispanic Contractor Association for hosting this event and making this happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Angel. And And just for my last plug, we are one of the shortlisted firms in the Southeast Connector, as well as the 35E Phase 2 project that you heard mentioned from each district. And that is a way to register on our website. So our website, as well as our DBE email, as well as the QR code if you want to go ahead and register. But thank you, Angel, for being here today. And thank you for your sponsorship and letting us sponsor. I appreciate that.
Of course.
So next, we have Adam Henderson from Spartan Reinforcing. Adam.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you very much. We are very pleased to be a part of RHCA. Adrian, owner of Spartan, is on the board. And what a tremendous event this is, and organization. Just happy to be here. A little bit about Spartan. If you're not familiar with us, we are a reinforcing steel contractor specializing in turnkey, furnish, and install reinforcing solutions. As you can see from the slide, we operate in several different market segments, and we have offices in Houston, Dallas, Austin, and Denver, and hold a DBE, MBE, SBE, and HUB certifications in all the markets we serve. But if there's something that you take away from this little spiel, is know that it is truly at the heart of Spartan that we want to bring something very special and truly valuable to the reinforcing steel scope. And if you're interested and would like to reach out, please contact us. The contact information is on the slide. And certainly happy holidays to everyone, and a certainly happy welcomed new year.
Thank you, Adam. And we especially love our MBE, DBE sponsors. So we appreciate you participating, and thank you so much for your efforts and the work that you do on the highway side. We've worked with Spartan before, so thank you again. And another one of our DBE, or actually our MBE sponsors, is Azteca Omega. And they need no introduction. Azteca Omega has been in this community for several years. And Luis Spanola, who is the who is the president and CEO of the company, has been a strong advocate for the RHCA, and always lends his area of sponsorship as well as his area of expertise for everything. They do a lot of work with civil and heavy highway, site work, paving, streets, as well as utilities. So we want to thank Azteca Omega for their sponsorship today to this amazing forum. And so with that, next, we're going to go back to my large corporate parties. We have Mr. Mike Landon from Austin Bridge and Road, who is also the company of our RHCA board chair, Bianca Sandoval. Mike?
Thank you, Angela. My name is Mike Landon. I'm the Vice President of Estimating with Austin Bridge and Road. We operate mainly in the heavy highway marketplace. TxDOT is one of our largest customers. We're very happy to be able to participate in this forum, and we're very thankful for the RHCA putting this on, and for their advocacy and support of small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Austin Bridge and Road, for your support for RHCA as well as this forum over the many years, and we appreciate that. And then next, as Louis will be remiss if I don't say anything, is that, you know, this is not just about construction. This is the sponsored by the EAC committee, which is the Architectural Engineering and Construction Committee. And one of our wonderful DBE sponsors is BRX, whose president is Noel Abraham. And so, Noel.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you for Regional Hispanic Contractors Association for always supporting MWBE firms. VRX is an award-winning firm focusing mainly on client satisfaction. I started this firm in 2006, and we have multiple offices in Texas, Oklahoma, and New York. And we provide program and maintenance management, construction management and inspection services, civil and structural engineering, mechanical and electrical engineering, as well as environmental compliance and permitting. And we are WBE, DBE certified, and we look forward to working with every office here in Texas. Have a great holiday, and thank you again for giving us the opportunity to present today.
No problem. No, thank you. Again, we really do appreciate our sponsors, especially our minority and small business partners and sponsors for this forum. So thank you for your participation and thank you for your support. And last but not least, we have Adrienne Williams from the Tarrant Mobility Partners. You know, saying, I'm gonna let her introduce, but you'll see it's Balfour Beatty. A lot of the projects that the Dallas district mentioned that Balfour Beatty and Floor are doing, but you know, we always change our names when we go to another project. So Adrienne, thank you for supporting today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. As she mentioned, I'm Adrienne Williams. I definitely want to say thank you to the RHCA for hosting this annual forum and for the opportunity for us to sponsor and be a partner of the event today. So as she mentioned, Tarrant Mobility Partners is a design, construction, and maintenance team. TMP for short. Tarrant Mobility Partners is a joint venture of the equity partners, as mentioned, Floor and Balfour Beatty. Our first joint venture was actually 18 years ago. And we've been continuously delivering design build projects together in Texas ever since inception. We partnered on 6 design build projects in Texas, 4 of which are located here in the Dallas-Fort Worth region. So one being the Southern Gateway project, as mentioned by Senator West in his remarks earlier. We are on track and trending to meet that goal for Southern Gateway of 12.5% DBE goal. So feel free to reach out to me on any of those local projects in the region, but probably more importantly, we're pleased to be shortlisted for the Southeast Connector project, as well as one of those teams mentioned by Representative Collier. We've begun meeting with some of the DBE firms on the design and professional services side already. And so that contact information is shown on the screen, the email being opportunities@tmpsec.com, or you can use the QR code, which directly links you to that email to capture your information. So again, thank you for the opportunity to sponsor and be a part of today's event.
Thank you once again to TMP for your sponsorship and your support of the RHCA, as well as the event today. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Julio.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Angela, and all our speakers and all our sponsors. I really appreciate that everybody's been able to participate. I know we're all in the sprint to the end of the year. I did want to recognize some of our partnering organizations that helped with putting this information out, from ACEC Dallas chapter, the U.S. Department of Transportation Gulf Region Small Business Transportation Resource Center, which is the Greater Dallas Hispanic Chamber, AGC, the Minority Design Professionals Council, and the ASHE Dallas and Fort Worth chapter, the American Society of Highway Engineers. Thank you guys for supporting the event and sending out the information. So at this point, what I'm going to do, we're going to go into our breakout sessions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. What you will notice is if you want to stay and listen about the construction opportunities, stay in this room. You're going to see a pop-up window come up on your screen that will say Join Professional Services. If you want to go to the Professional Services room, by all means, go in there and give us about a minute to get started. But if you want to stay for the construction opportunity session, stay in this room. Just click later when you see that pop-up come up. So if you give me 1 second, you will start seeing that will come up. Just if you want to go to professional services, please go into that room. If you want to stay for construction, stay in this room. professional services will be able, you can go into that room. If you give us a minute or so, and then we'll get started in each room. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But if you want to stay for construction against, just ignore the window that pops up, click on later. And if you want to go into professional services, click the join button and we'll get started there momentarily. We're almost. And Louis, if you want to go into the professional services room, and I'll be there in about a minute, okay?
Sure. Yeah, we're just waiting for the pop-up button to show up on the screen. And when it does, again, anybody that's interested on the design side, just click on that little button and it'll take you right into the breakout session.
And if you want to stay again for construction, just click on the later button. Okay, so that is, I want to say everybody's gotten the invitation. Arlene will be sharing her screen, and Miss Angela Berry Roberson and Arlene will host the construction session. Louis and I will jump over to professional services now. So Arlene, can you go ahead and share your screen? Okay, perfect. All right, so Arlene will host the construction. Again, if you're interested in going into the professional services, I will see you in that room.
Okay. I think we're ready to start.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't get a breakout.
Julio, I don't think I've gotten the button to come out.
Click on the breakout room at the bottom of your screen.
Got it.
Yeah, so click on the bottom.
The lower right, got it.
So once again, if you're interested in the professional services and designs, go to the breakout rooms and hit there. So hopefully we've got all of us who are interested in construction and learning a little bit more about what's going on in construction in the Dallas district and the Fort Worth districts of TxDOT, as well as NTTA. Right? I hope. Okie dokie. I hope everybody in between that little Jeopardy moment had time to, take another swig of coffee or tea. If you're brave enough to eat a whole breakfast, okay. We're just going to start in about a minute, just making sure everybody's here. But like I said, we've got, I'm just going to go through some of the housekeeping that we talked about before. Arlene, can you hit the next slide, please? Just be sure to keep yourself muted throughout the meeting and make sure you stay for the whole meeting. After we finish this section, we're going to jump back over. So there are final remarks and holiday wishes at the end. And then presentations will be emailed. As long as you registered for the event, you shall receive an emailed copy of the presentations that were done today. We'll have Q&A after each presentation. And then feel free to put questions in the chat. I will start looking at them as well as Arlene. And if you get logged out, just be sure to use, since we're already in the same link, just use the same link to go back in. Okay, next slide. It's me, y'all already know me. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next speaker. As I said, this is the session to talk specifically about contract construction opportunities. The EAC, you keep hearing us say EAC, the Architectural Engineering Construction Committee of the RHCA, is dedicating to working with our members that are specifically in those specific scopes of work to connect them and provide access to speakers such as Brennan and John today as the construction side. And then, of course, on the professional service side, Louis Frisbee, who's the co-chair of the committee, is taking care of everyone over there. So we're going to go ahead and get started with construction. Brennan, you heard from Brennan earlier today. We have Mr. Brennan Honey, who is the Dallas District Director of Construction at TxDOT. So we're going to go ahead without any further ado so we can get to the meat of the presentation. Thank you, Brennan, for staying on and giving us that part 2 knowledge. I saw that from the Dallas District in construction. Thanks.
All right. Thanks again, Angela. All right. If y'all, go ahead and go to the next slide and we'll take a look at the outline if you can. The next slide. There you go. All right. So I'm going to do a quick UTP overview and about the UTP cycle. I feel it's important. I'm a construction guy, but I think it's always important to think about that UTP cycle. And Mo Burr gave a presentation on this a while back, and it was I find it really interesting. I think it's good for all of our contracting partners to kind of understand that cycle as well. So we'll go over that, and then I'm going to go through a quick run through some of the ongoing construction projects, and then of course a lot of the upcoming construction projects we have coming up in the next year or 2 or 3. So if you could go to the next slide. All right, what is the UTP? It's TxDOT's 10-year plan that guides the development of transportation projects across the state. Go ahead and click. Yeah, go ahead and click it. There you go. It determines how much transportation funding the state expects to have over the next decade and how to distribute it. Includes all transportation projects that TxDOT is developing for construction over the next 10 years. It's organized into 12 funding categories that focus on different highway project types or range of activities. So you always hear about people saying Cat 6, Cat 1, Cat 8. That's those UTP funding programs, funding categories, excuse me, go ahead. And it's required by state law and approved by the Texas Transportation Commission each year by August 31st. All right, next. And it may be updated more frequently if necessary to authorize major change to one or more funding allocations or project listings. So next slide, please. The funding levels in the UTP are based on a forecast of potential transportation revenue that may be available over the next 10 years. Because funding levels may change in the future, which we expect them to change a little bit, the UTP does not serve as a budget or a guarantee that certain projects will be built. Instead, the plan authorizes TxDOT and local partnering agencies to prepare projects for construction based on a potential future cash flow scenario. Next slide, please. So Teresita from our programming office put this slide together for Mo, and I find it pretty fascinating. It's a continuous cycle. So we're in FY 2021 right now, and we're coming up, as you can see, we're in December. We're coming up on the 87th legislation session. You can see with the activities that are going to be going on that as they develop, and then we get our General Appropriations Act most likely in June, and that sets kind of the TxDOT budget, and they start doing statewide public involvement, and that will set essentially the 2022 UTP cycle. So it's basically, it will update from the 2021. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the 2021 UTP distribution strategy. This is the statewide, and you can see there's the 12 funding categories with how much is allocated for each one of those, and that's for the 10-year forecast. And the total UTP was around 74.6 billion. If you go to the next slide, we kind of drill down a little bit. This is the Dallas District's 2021 UTP distribution. And you can see we have about 1.2 billion in Cat 1, which is our rehab type jobs. You got the clear lanes, you got everything else. You got the safety, which we're not exactly sure. We go after every penny we can. We try to I guess we try to couple that with our Cat 1 as well to try to get these 3-foot shoulders. And that's a, you know, we still have a lot of rural areas and we're still trying to get away from these 22-foot roads and get them out to 28, 30 feet. And we try to utilize safety money to get that. So we're always looking for not just, you know, intersection safety, which we do. We run all kinds of numbers trying to generate scores, you know, from what's happening in the field to get that safety funding and couple it with some of our Cat 1. But you can see, you kind of divide that out by 10 and that gives you what you think we're going to have on average per year. So if you go to the next slide, please. All right, so let's go to ongoing construction projects. The one on the left is the first column's going up on the diamond, which is pretty cool. And then the one on the right is a tiny little bridge out in the middle of nowhere on 455. So it's quite a diverse area. Go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, let's talk about some of the ongoing construction projects on 35E Lois Stemmons. It's a $71.5 million. It's Balfour Beatty. We're hoping to finish it up this summer. It's operational improvements consisting of collector distributor roads to eliminate high volume weaving. No new right of way was required for this job. You know, we've still got to finish the northbound and southbound collector distributor bridges. And we got to finish up and mill and inlay the 35 main lanes. All right, next slide, please. And I know over the years, a lot of people have probably seen the simulations on what, you know, we only leveraged 70-something million dollars, but the amount of operational improvement that we're going to receive out of that job is phenomenal. And that's a testament to our engineers and our consultant engineers that analyzed this and figured out how a way to do this. You can see we're going to see a 178% increase Oaklawn to Woodall, and 54% increase from southbound I-35E, and then Woodall to Oaklawn, 285% increase, and northbound 35E, 33% increase. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is the Southern Gateway, the design build. Right now it's reconstruct from 8 to 10 lanes and add a non-toll reversible main lane. Estimated completion is going to be the summer of 2022, and the construction cost is $625.6 million. Current work and upcoming work is concrete paving, retaining wall, bridge work continues along 35E, including work on cross-street bridges for Union, Marsalis, and Illinois. Bridge widening and concrete pavement work on US 67, and traffic switches completed recently, and upcoming traffic switches will continue to open new lanes and ramps within the project limits. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we're about 2/3 on the money. I think we're a little over $400 million spent. So there's, you know, 230 million left to go. Next slide, please. All right, so here's our biggest design build. It's just getting really ramped up. This is 635 LBJ East. It's taken a long time to get to this point, and we're really excited in the district to see it going. I get to drive it every day coming through the interchange at 30 and 635, and it's pretty cool to see it going up. It's widened highway from 8 to 10 lanes, that continuous frontage roads, reconstruct grandfather toll managed lanes. Hoping to complete it in 2024, and it's approximately $1.6 billion. And upcoming work is continue to relocate utilities through the corridor, excavation, drainage, bridge substructure in various locations. Continued progress on Galloway Bridge over IH-30 and temporary Skillman Bridge over 635, and then also the IH-30 interchange. Temporary traffic switches along the main lanes, frontage roads, and cross streets. Next slide, please. All right, so there you go. So the Irving interchange, this is phase 2 of the Diamond. It let last May, and we're just really ramping up on it. This job's being run out of my office as well because the Dallas area office is so busy at the time. So it's reconstruct the interchanges at 183, 114, Loop 12, and 482. It's $301 million. And work that's going on is essentially structure work, drill shafts everywhere. I mean, they're really getting access to a lot of places. They're getting after it. especially right there in the box interchange at 183 and Loop 12 is along 482 at 114. They're also doing a lot of ITS work, and the City of Irving water and sanitary sewer work is going on as well. So, all right, next slide. All right, this is upcoming projects, and this is for the remaining FY21 FY. We got about $439 million left to go this year. And I do want to point out the next big one is obviously going to be the IH-30, and I'll get into a little more detail on that one. Sitting at about 157, 158 million. And then there's this little smaller one right there, reconfigure intersection with sidewalk improvements at SH-78. That's the 3G project. That was kind of a polarizing project, very political. It's been very tough. It's a very tight area, tons of traffic. We're reconfiguring the intersection. So even though it's only 5 million, we always like to point that out. It's going to be a tough job, and when it's done, it's going to be really nice. But it's a great opportunity, but it's not going to be an easy job. And then pointing out a few of the other jobs, we got the US 380, the second job will go, and I'll get into more detail on that one. It's sitting at about 140 million. And there's some other various ones there we can talk about, but let's go to the next slide. And for FY22, some of the highlights, we're expecting about $498 million right now. Now, you know, depending on the timing, that also might include the procurement of the 35E. We're hoping to have that procured this summer. But some notable jobs on there is the 205 job in Collin County. It's about 35 million. Several 35E jobs. And then you got the Ellis County I-35E. It's about 42 million. And including and then and then the other one right there is 455 at 35E, and then a long stretch of 455, and it's about $70 million when you add it all up. So if you go to the next slide, let's take a quick look at the I-30 projects. So the construction costs, we got it divided into 3 projects. The first one is the one in green, and it's going to let in March of 2021, and it's sitting about $158 million on the estimate. It's going to get frontage roads across the first part of the lake from Dow Rock to Bass Pro. And then from the next section from, let me see, hold on. The next section from Dow Rock to 205, we're hoping to let that in FY23. And that one's sitting at $243 million. And then the last one from 205 to the Hunt County line, again in FY23, hopefully early in 23, which would probably be September, October of 2022. Widened 4 to 6 lanes, it's $289 million. And the goal, of course, if you've ever driven that, it's extremely congested and there's no route. We got to get these frontage roads punched through across the lake and then get more capacity through Rockwall County. Next slide, please. All right. I briefly touched on this a couple of minutes ago. US 380 in Denton County. It is going to be letting in, it lets in May 2021, and it's approximately $140 million. It's from Loop 288 to west. Well, the one that's going to let us from 377 to west of County Road 26 is going to widen from 4 to 6 lanes, divided urban grade separation. I built that job that's in Collin County. It's kind of a super arterial section. It's not quite a freeway, but it's also has some controlled access elements. And essentially it's going to tie onto that piece. Mario Stenicola built that in 2017, 2018. So that's that piece. And then the piece that you see in red is already let. I believe Regal Construction got that one, and it was about $21 million. All right, next slide. 35E phase 2. We're literally having one-on-ones right now for this job. We're in the middle of procurement. The construction cost estimates between 650 to 709 million. It fully reconstructs and widens I-35E from 635 in Dallas County to the Denton County line. General purpose lanes will be widened from 6 to 8 lanes and will include construction of continuous frontage roads and numerous intersection improvements. Procurement, like I said, is ongoing. The draft RFP was released and shortlisted proposers. We shortlisted proposers in August. We're currently, TxDOT released the final RFP in October, and we're currently working through the ATCs. We expect to have it under construction this summer and with an estimated completion date in 2025. So I think, like another speaker said, you know, find out who's shortlisted on that, be in touch with them. That there is a lot of opportunity on that job as well. All right, the next slide, please. All right, now here's the 35 Denton County. There's, you know, I think it shows on here 10 different jobs. There's actually another job that's actually going to let before that. It's about a $14 million job. But, you know, based on the funding, we're seeing what's happening. But the total construction cost of this whole corridor is about $1.3 billion. And it's, you know, intersection road improvements intended to address traffic bottlenecks caused by rapid population and industry growth along 35E and 35 corridors in Denton. Estimated completion, you know, if we can get it all funded, which, you know, that's still not entirely certain for the whole quarter, would be somewhere around 2028. But I do want to point out a few of the projects that we know are pretty confident that we're going with. Is Project 8 at FM 455. Its estimated let date is 8/22. It includes widening of 455 primarily with the structure at 35E. I think it's an underpass, but the cost is $70 million. And then Project 9 is partially funded, and that totals over $400 million. That's the big red line on there. And it's most likely going to be broken into smaller pieces and try to utilize the funding that we do have. And we expect some of that to start in FY23. And then Project 5 interchange improvements at Mayhill, $62 million, and estimated let date is in June of 22. And then finally, Projects 1 at Corporate, Project 2 at 121, and Project 3 at 1171. They are $72 million, $82 million, and $43 million, respectively, and currently sitting in January of 2023. But again, we're trying to push. If we use ready to let dates for our programming, we really want to push to get these utilities out of the way and get these jobs let ahead of time. So I'm using the let date that we have set, but almost all of these, if we have funding and we can get the utilities clear, we're going to try to go early with any of these. So that, you know, it could change from the next 6 months to a year. And then that's exactly what's happened on the next slide. For I-30, it's been pushed out a little bit. It's from 35E to I-45. It's currently about $367 million. And it's improved weaving conditions from 45 to 75 to I-30. The existing corridor has underutilized collector distributor roads. This project will reconstruct those main lane as main lanes, increase the weave lengths in between the interchanges, and reconstruct and widen from 2 to 6 discontinuous to 4 to 8 discontinuous frontage roads. And we're hoping to let that in 2024, but again, we're going to try to get it ready, but there's a lot of utilities down there. So that's a snapshot of kind of any of the construction. And of course, we got, you know, dozens to hundreds of other jobs and projects in the works, and we're going to continue to try to get those ready. So when funding becomes available, if there's some kind of stimulus package or whatever comes along, that we can get those funded, work with COG, and get those out the door. So that's all I got for now. If you got any questions, feel free to contact the Dallas area or the Dallas district or me anytime. Thanks.
Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate that. That's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of work going on in the Dallas district. And so with that, we're going to go over to the Tarrant or the Tarrant County, but into the Fort Worth district. We have Mr. John Cordery, who is the Fort Worth District Deputy District Engineer. And we're going to go without, because we've got until like 11:20. So I just want to make sure we get all the speakers in. We have a speaker from NTTA, and then we'll save our questions for the end. So John, without any further ado, let's hear about Fort Worth District and the construction opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. Appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. Next slide, please. So again, just to cover up, the Fort Worth District is the 9 counties over on the west side of the Metroplex, reaching out to Jack in the northwest, over to Palo Pinto, and then down into the Stephenville and the Erath County area office. So next slide, please. So just thought I'd cover a few contracts, projects that are under construction, but still have some significant work left, that there may be some opportunities. Our 3360 interchange there near Six Flags is still ongoing. We estimate about another 2 years worth of work in that interchange. We did drop some bridges across I-30 that really opened up some space, so we ought to see some real rapid progress continuing on that project. Next slide, please. One of our Texas Clear Lanes projects is the I-20 SH-121 interchange. It's about a $174 million project that we estimate completion in the fall of 22. There still may be some opportunities there for some work there on that project. Next slide. As mentioned earlier, our North Tarrant Express was broken up into 3 projects. 3A, 3B have been completed, but 3C has just recently started. It's a $600 million project to reconstruct Interstate I-35 from 287 on up to Eagle Parkway. And we estimate completion there in about 2024. So next slide, please. Moving over to the South Lake area, we have a little section on 114 that has a gap in the frontage road system. This project has led, but should be starting here over the next few months. It's about a $32 million project to construct frontage roads in this section of 114. So, next slide, please. Over on the back up one slide there. In the northwest part of the county, of Tarrant County, we're rebuilding 199 over the lake. It just started with completion of 2024. And in this project, 170, we're constructing the freeway general purpose lanes in between already existing frontage roads. Again, it also just started with the completion date of 2024. Next slide, please. So looking back a little bit on history, looking back 10 years and looking forward 10 years, this was our historical and projected annual letting volumes. So you kind of average out, looking back, like Teresa mentioned this earlier this morning, Fort Worth District averages about $350 to $400 million a year. And in looking forward, we think we're still going to continue that average annual volume. There are some peaks. In 2022, that big peak there is the Southeast Connector project that we talked about, and I'll talk about a little more in the future. But again, Fort Worth District averages about $350 to $400 million worth of work each year. So next slide, please. So for FY21, we were projecting just a little under $300 million. And through the first 4 months of FY21, we're on track, and we're continuing with our project development process, and we still feel confident that we're going to meet about a $300 million letting volume in FY21. So digging in a little deeper dive into the 21 upcoming projects. Next slide, please. Coming up in January, 2 projects out in Parker County, a bridge maintenance project for just under $2 million, and in Johnson County, a small little safety project going to do some rumble strip installation and some pavement markings. In February, we're planning on 3 contracts back out in Parker. We've got a bridge replacement, and then in Johnson County again, 2 roadway resurfacing projects. Next slide, please. In March, 5 contracts in Tarrant County, some road resurfacing project, on a bridge maintenance project. Got another bridge replacement out in Parker County, little turn lane project there for a new school on FM5, about a $4 million project. And then resurfacing in Tarrant County, FM 1886, about a $2 million resurfacing project. In April, looking for about three contracts. We need to do some upgrades to our traffic management center there that Teresa oversees. It's about a $4.5 million project for those improvements. Up in Wise County, we'll be doing some pavement widening out on US 81, about a $6.7 million project, and then another resurfacing project on a Ranch to Market roadway there in western part of Tarrant County. So, next slide, please. In May, another 4 projects, moving up to Jack County, another turn lane project, about $2.7 million. In Hood County, another small little microsurfacing roadway resurfacing project. And then in Erath County, a bigger project to add shoulders on one of our narrow farm to market roadways, FM 219. And then last in Tarrant County, just a district-wide project to do a lot of upgrades and replacements of our dynamic message boards. It's about a $7 million project. Next slide, please. In June, a pretty big June letting for us, about 7 projects, some traffic signal work, some shoulder widenings up in Wise County, a big project up in Jack County as we continue the upgrade and evolution of US 281 to add some passing lanes on that 2-lane system there. In Johnson County, US 67 is going to be resurfaced, about a $12 million project to do some resurfacing there on 67. And then out in Erath County, again, some resurfacing and some safety upgrades. Next slide, please. In July, another big letting and a lot of traffic installation. Teresa is going to be busy. Some signal work. Again, district-wide traffic signals, about a $5 million project, a project to install some traffic signal cameras. There's a contract there for installation of ITS across Tarrant County, and then some city reconstruction of some city streets that we're also involved with in helping those local partners. Next slide, please. And then finishing out in August in Tarrant County, another city street. We're going to replace a bridge, and then a district-wide illumination contract. So in summary, looking at our FY21, what's left on our plan is about 34 contracts worth about $130 million. So next slide, please. Some bigger projects on the horizon. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, the Southeast Connector project, $1.6 billion project to completely reconstruct 3 freeways, I-820, I-20, and US 287. We are in that procurement right now. There have been 3 proposals shortlisted, and they're assembling their teams. And we hope to execute that contract in the fall of 21 and get to work shortly thereafter. And we expect completion in 26. Next slide, please. And then back over near the 3360 interchange, we've got a little gap there on 360 to reconstruct that freeway. We estimate about $55 million with the letting date there in about mid-2022. Next slide, please. And then last, out on the west side of town, on Interstate 30, we'll do a reconstruction of that section of 30. We need to add some general purpose lanes and also add some of the frontage road system. It's an estimated cost of about $120 million. And we hope to get that to letting there in about late 22. So with that, that's our plan there in Fort Worth. And again, we appreciate everybody and wish everybody a safe and happy holidays.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And thank you, Brennan, as well. Just hearing from the TxDOT and the opportunities that are available, especially on the construction side, that is a lot of work, a lot of opportunities. I hope everyone takes advantage of that. Instead of going to the chat and Q&A now, I want to go ahead and go to our next speaker. Adrian Williams, who is one of our sponsors with TEP, the MP, excuse me, I apologize, Terra Mobility Partners, is going to introduce our next guest with NTTA. Adrian?
Okay, thank you, Angela. Okay, so again, Adrian Williams with Terra Mobility Partners. I have the pleasure this morning of introducing Mark Boma with NTT, North Texas Tollway Authority, as we know to be the NTTA. Mark is the Director of Engineering there, and he will provide us updates with all things NTTA for their agency. Mark, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Adrian. And yeah, I appreciate getting my picture off of that, because obviously my barber has cut a whole lot more gray into my hair than that picture showed, but that's what time seems to do. But would like the opportunity, and I'm going to, again, thank you for the opportunity for NTTA to be able to present what some of our opportunities are going to be coming forward. And I'm going to kind of kick off, not unlike Brennan talked about how TxDOT's program is driven by UTP. Very similarly, we operate under a 5-year capital plan. We work with the region to help prioritize projects. I'm working with North Central Texas Council of Governments on the major expansion projects. And then internally, we look at what our maintenance, rehabilitation, safety improvement needs are. All this gets is wrapped up into a rolling 5-year capital plan. So go to the next slide, please. And this helps, explain not only, let's say, the big projects, but the smaller projects. If you're truly looking for an insomnia cure, you can find this on the NTTA org, because it's a rather comprehensive financial plan, shows you what our where our spending is planned, both design, construction, and such on a by-year basis. So it helps kind of look and see what's out there in our more distant future. That financial plan helps kind of inform it. And we're doing work in many of our corridors. You see, especially some of the roadways marked in green, we've got some major active construction underway with widening projects underway on the President George Bush Turnpike. That work is pretty well finished up between the Dallas North Tollway and 35, but from 35E all the way down to Interstate 20. That entire length of the corridor is being expanded from the existing 2 or 3 lanes each direction to 4 lanes in each direction to help bring needed capacity, especially once traffic starts coming back. Similarly, on the Sam Rayburn Tollway, we're widening that roadway to full 8-lane corridor, 4 lanes each direction, all the way from one end to the other. So that's where we start near Denton Tap all the way out to US 75. And then got current construction project that I haven't actually looked at the numbers, but I'd say we're about 25% into extending the Dallas North Tollway over US 380. And so with each of those contracts, there's always opportunities that our primes are looking for to help bring potentially additional subs to it as they work on that. Austin Bridge and Road, one of the sponsors you heard from earlier, they have several of our major projects, the Dallas North Tollway over 380, as well as the Sam Rayburn Tollway work. And then on Bush Turnpike, it's SEMA Construction and Flatiron that are helping us to deliver those projects. So those are contractors that always have opportunities. But then you look at where the future lies. Now, one of our challenges has been the impacts of COVID-19 have really affected the finances of the organization. As you heard earlier, when our executive director, James Hoffman, spoke, we're funded entirely through collection of tolls. We do not get any part of the state gas tax or the federal revenue streams to develop these projects. So as we saw traffic drop initially in excess of 40%, that really threw a challenge at us, that revenues were below even our basic costs of operating maintenance and our required bond debt. So our board was aggressive. We took out approximately $100 million in loans just to be able to fund all the ongoing construction so that we would not impact ongoing work. But it has challenged us some in moving forward with other projects. You see jobs here such as in one shown in orange, extending the Bush Turnpike along the east side, connecting 360 Tollway and the Bush Turnpike, or even widening the Chisholm Trail. Those were all projects that we were going to kick off into the schematic and planning work and towards design this year. We've had to push them out 2 years. And so that's ultimately affects where design and subsequently construction on these major roadway projects. Similarly, one of the big ones we were going to kick into design so that it could become a construction project was not expanding the Dallas North Tollway north of 380, with the goal of having that under construction probably late next year. Again, that's we've had to push that back. But let's say we do have work underway, and one I didn't mention, DNT 4B. We've actually just kicked off construction of the first frontage road project on there. Mario Sinicola is helping us build about 8 miles of greenfield frontage road that will help start cementing that corridor and lead towards development. So if you go to the next slide, we have been able to keep some work underway. We started design this year for widening the Dallas North Tollway through Frisco, Sam Rayburn to the US 380. That design is in its early phases right now. We're going to be closing the median, bringing in additional lane, as well as doing a number of auxiliary lane improvements and ramp improvements, and even a new interchange at north on the tollway. We're working cooperatively with the city of Frisco to help improve access to the new PGA developments and large anticipated developments there, with some complete bridge replacements to expand interchanges. So this is going to be about $100 million project that right now we're on schedule for this to let late second or probably mid third quarter of 2022. And as we get a little bit closer, we'll look to see how we can dovetail with TxDOT's letting programs so that everybody has opportunity to have a fair look at these projects. So there's going to be some, this is going to be the next big project. It's about $100 million. So next slide, please. So our real effort this next year is going to be on our routine maintenance projects. We're not having any large capital projects, but we're continue on looking at the safety of our system and making sure that we keep everything in good condition, because if we let the maintenance and the rehabilitation start to slide, it's just going to take that much more effort to catch up. So this has always been a very high priority for the organization to continue putting projects out. And for those of y'all that work in our registered in the NTTA marketplace system, you would have noticed, you would have gotten a bunch of projects potentially that dinged into you this morning. We actually, 7 projects hit the street this morning that were advertised. If you go, next slide, please. I'll talk a little bit further about those. You see, advertised just this morning, 7 projects. Primarily, we've got 5 of them are striping, various locations on our system to either replace thermo striping or tape striping. Different, the frontage roads projects such as, well, let's see, the first one listed there. Well, I'm sorry, 4th and 5th ones, those are frontage road restriping projects. Those are thermo. The one right above it, number 3 on that list, Chisholm Trail. There we're doing tape striping as well as structured all-weather pavement markings with rumble strips for shoulders. So it's not only just striping, it's also a safety improvement. So again, several striping projects. The top one on the list is a frontage road concrete pavement repair, do full depth repairs, about 12 intersections along the Sam Rayburn State Highway 121 in Collin and Denton counties. So pretty good amount of work there. And then that second one is a sign replacement project, which is to take all the signs, replace all of the overhead signs as well as small roadside signs on the Dallas North Tollway from downtown all the way up to the Bush Turnpike. So it's a significant number of signs, and these are all being replaced as part of improving safety and retroreflectivity improvements. We've got a few more projects that we've got on the calendar right now coming later in the year. And as we really start fleshing out our program next year, we're going to be identifying some more projects that are going to be late in next year. We operate on a calendar year program. So we just got our budget approved by our board of directors 2 days ago for 2021. So we will start fleshing out some additional rehabilitation maintenance projects here in January, and we'll hopefully be expanding the list for additional opportunities in the third and fourth quarter. So kind of gives you a feel for the type of projects that you'll see here in 2021. Next slide, please. And so I would be, happy to answer any questions here now or in the future. Please reach out to me. And seeing as I now lead both our construction group as well as all our maintenance engineering, I'm gotten pretty well versed in all these projects and be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And thank you. And now we have enough time. You guys did it. Woo-hoo. There's plenty of time for us to ask any questions. There's none in the chat. But if you do have any questions of our panelists, I know it was a lot. I mean, I'm not going to lie, that felt like baptism by a fire hydrant. There were so many opportunities and so much time. But if there are any questions that anybody wants to ask to Mark or John or Brennan, please put them in the chat. I don't believe I have the ability to, oh, there's a question, woo-woo. Can you tell us who the shortlisted teams are for the Southeast Connector? I think this goes to John. John? There you go.
I'm here. Yes, sorry, I'm here, Angela.
Okay.
Yes, so there's 3 teams shortlisted. As you mentioned, you're part of one of those teams in the Ferroville team, the
right.
Fleur Bauer Betty team, and then another team kind of with
it's Austin Kiewit.
Yes.
I tell them anything.
That's right.
Yeah. But yes. Did that hopefully that answer your question, Jody? But yes, there are 3 teams. Thank you, John. And like I said, we have 2 of the teams represented here today, and I think Mike might be on. I'm not sure if Mike Landon is still on the call. And those are the 3 teams that are from the contractor side or the design builder side that are shortlisted for that project. You're welcome. Any other questions? I mean, you've got the people here. This is the time to ask it. And I know somebody asked whether or not the presentations will, so you can go and digest, and then the contact information is there. So Mark and John and Brennan will probably get a lot of emails afterwards saying, okay, now I've had a chance to digest. There is that. So I don't know if is there any other questions? Man, we finished early. That's rare. Love that.
Angela, if I can,
Sure.
I would like to take a minute to expand on one thing I really forgot to mention in our presentation, but I talked about NTTA's marketplace that we use to advertise our projects. And if you really haven't gotten registered on NTTA Marketplace, I strongly encourage you to do. That is the electronic portal that we use both for distribution of plans and proposal projects, but also to accept electronic bids. Now, we've gone through the electronic bidding process. So far, the feedback we've gotten, it's working well. For those that are still unsure about electronic bidding, we still accept paper bids also. in the chat window, you can see Priya Chandran has kind of given the web link to that, but it's pretty simple, nttamarketplace.org. You have the opportunity to see what projects we have. You can download them even without registering in the system. You can download them anonymously, but I would encourage you to, if you're interested in a project, by registering for the project on it, what you will receive all of the addendums, the bid clarifications that come out. Plus, you will be seen on the what's called the bid holders list on there. So that is a great place to look for which contractors are likely to be bidding the work, but also looking for teaming partners. So definitely encourage you to leverage that capability of nttamarketplace.org. Thank you.
No problem. John or Brennan, did you guys want to have any additional comments?
Angela, it's John. Kind of like Mark could just follow up. My presentation really focused on construction projects, but we do have our routine maintenance program as well that covers, our routine metal bin guard fence and striping and sweeping and litter and mowing, those type of contracts too. So those are also opportunities through our routine maintenance program as well.
Yeah, I would like to mention, I think I touched on it in my first presentation, we got about $80 million. It's fiscally constrained, so we get a budget every year, and that's kind of rolling for routine maintenance contracts, and they include everything from mowing all the way through pavement repair type work. And so there's a lot of opportunity, and at any given time we have about 100 contracts going. And then they asked about shortlist for the Southeast Connector. I'd like to throw in for the 35E phase 2, which would be more Tarrant infrastructure, which is Ferrovial. We have Lone Star Constructors, which I believe is Floor and Austin Bridge and Road. And then we got the Sunt Archer Western Joint Venture. Those are the three shortlisted ones for our $600, $700 million 35E phase 2. So that's a good place to talk to some of the bigger contractors and see if they can get some work there.
Right. Well, excellent. Well, thank you guys for our panel. As you see, our professional services panel has joined us, and attendees have joined us. And so as we conclude, I'm going to turn it over to Julio for any last comments from the RHCA or Lewis, and then we'll conclude. So Julio?
So I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. I have a few slides to go over, but before that, I'd like to have Lewis want to give some closing comments.
Sure. Again, just wanted to thank everybody for being here today. I hope that you were able to get some very good, meaningful, actionable information. Hope all of you are able to get some additional business or develop additional opportunities as a result of the information you've received. As I told the folks on the professional services side, the Architecture, Engineering, and Construction Subcommittee is a fairly new committee for the RHCA, but we're working hard to represent both the design as well as the construction folks. So we would encourage all of you to join our committee and attend our meetings once a month. You could ask Julio for the particulars of when that's going to be and to get your invitation. So please reach out to us. And again, for those that are interested in advice on the engineering side, I'll be more than happy to visit with you and share strategies going forward.
So just real quick, if you check the chat, Arlene is going to put a few links in there. One of them is the survey. We definitely want to know how to improve and if there's any other topics we need to touch on. I do want to thank
Julio, we can't hardly hear you. I'm so sorry. I don't know if anybody else is hard of hearing. I mean, I'm old, so I don't know if I'm just hard of hearing, but I can't hear you very well. You were much clearer earlier.
My headphones ran out of battery.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Talk
can you hear
loud.
me now better?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very
okay.
much.
So thank you to everyone again. Arlene, I was mentioning, is going to put a few links in the chat. If you can open up the chat, one of them is the survey link. We definitely want to know how to improve, and then what other topics we can touch on to present on. Our goal is always that once you attend an event, whether it's in person or virtual, that you can actually take one thing and implement it for your business. So this slide right here, we were awarded the Susan Harwood Grant, which is through the Department of Labor, which OSHA falls under, to provide free fall protection training. I am proud to say that we are the only organization in Texas that is not an educational institution or a healthcare provider to receive the grant. If you don't know, Texas is #1 for construction worker fatalities and injuries, and falls is #1 by a huge margin. Usually every year, about 40% of injuries and deaths occur due to falls. And I hate to say it, but I've had several business owners that come to the class or send their people after somebody has passed away. I've had that face-to-face testimony of even from somebody stepping on the first step of a ladder, they slip and fall, hit their head, they go into a coma. 5 days later, it's unfortunate that they have to unplug them. So it is that serious. We're doing it virtual right now. We trained over 1,000 people last year throughout the state. If you're interested, we can definitely set up a class for you for free. Here's our information. The next thing too, if you didn't know, we had our Luna Awards virtual events these past few weeks that touched multiple cities in San Antonio, Houston, Austin, Corpus Christi, and it concluded yesterday here in Dallas. Last year was the first year that the event took place throughout the whole state. And I want to congratulate all the winners and all the sponsors who supported the event. So congratulations to the winners and the sponsors for supporting the RHCA. Next, as we understand the need for some of the businesses to understand a little bit more about how the contract, when you're about to sign the contract to get started on the project. So we have a series in 2021 that'll start in January 20th. We're going to have one topic per month. Each month we'll have a different topic. And on the next slide, you're going to see the different topics that each month will have. So if you're interested in this, feel free to reach out to us. Some great information, and we hope this information can help you out. The next thing is we are accepting donations for toys or contributions. If you're interested in that, please contact us if you want to drop off a toy. These toys do go directly to the community, so we definitely appreciate any contributions. And with that being said, I'll stop sharing. And Ms. Angela or Lewis, do you guys have any other comments you would like to give before we end the meeting?
I'll go. First of all, I want to thank, if there are still speakers and sponsors still on the call, we want to first of all thank you for your participation. Thank you for your support. We truly appreciate it. I know I was blessed. I hope everyone else felt that they received a wealth of information, insight from our heavy highway industry, both NTTA as well as TxDOT. I do want to thank everyone for their support. And as a board member of the RHCA, on behalf of our board chair, Bianca Saldival, I want to wish everyone a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and a safe New Year. I'll see you in 2021. Take care.
Thank you all. So I'm going to end the meeting now, and I appreciate everybody, and I hope you have a great Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
If you're still on here, if you can click on that